Hello, guys.
Hi Faisal, how are you?
Hey, Joanne. Hey, Adria, you're on
Hello.
mute.
Yeah,
Now you are mute. I'm mute. It's very pleasure to see you guys.
same.
Same. It's a pleasure to be here with you at the Pakistan user group. So thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
inviting us.
Thank you. I'm very excited to see your session, guys. This is going to be. I was thinking like you are going to wear something different today.
No,
It's what we try sometimes or at our sessions, but because it's in English,
it's quite
we
difficult for
have
us to
yeah,
have the
it's
session in
it's more
English.
difficult. Yeah.
And
So
today
No, no.
I'm a little bit sick and I have nose. So
Okay. No. I wish you a good health soon.
yeah,
And good luck with this session, guys. I'm
thank,
just quickly adding your screen there. Uh,
well, okay. First of all, thank you so much to the Faisal for inviting us to be a speaker here at the Urdu Hindi Bootcamp. Thank you so much to the Pakistan user group, to the team that is organizing this awesome event, and thank you, of
thanks
course,
to the
for
sponsors too.
to the sponsors for do it possible. Okay, today, well, first of all,
Yeah, we need to present
yeah,
ourselves.
my name is Juan Antonio Tomás. I'm Microsoft Business Applications MVP since October from last year. Well, I have a blog, jatomas.com, in which I used to write some technical posts about finance and operations because I'm Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Technical Architect at Accenture. And you can follow me at Twitter in Juanan169 and nothing else.
Well, I'm Adri Ariste. Uh, I'm also I work at Accenture too as one, and you can read my blog at ariste.info and find me on Twitter at adria_ariste. And well, I'm also a business applications MVP since October, the same as Juanan.
Yeah.
And if you know Spanish,
Yeah, we have a
you can
podcast.
listen to our podcast on xpp.dev.
We used to have a monthly podcast talking about the news about Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations, but the technical side of Dynamics,
Mhm.
the XPP side. So if you understand something in Spanish, you can follow and hear us.
Okay, so what are we going to talk about today? So, Git.
Yeah.
Git and Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations.
If there's
Um,
somebody that don't know what's Git, could be, Git is a version control system that allow us to have different versions of our code, of our objects, the objects we are creating in the AOT, the classes, and every technical part of the system. We can have several versions. So if in one moment somebody breaks something down, we can go back to the last version that was working and start working again with the right version. So it's basically as TFVC is
mhm.
the one we used to use in Dynamics 365 F&O. So first of all, we are going to see more or less the differences between TFVC and Git. The first one and the most important, I think, is that TFVC is a centralized VCS, version control system, and Git is a distributed VCS. What does mean? That means that for to work with TFVC, we need to have a server. It could be online or on premise or local, but we need to have a server to put our repository. The repository is the place where all the versions of our code is. So we need to have a online or on-premise repository in order to work against it. In the other side, we have Git. Git is a distributed VCS, and we can have the repository locally. So the first difference is that we should need internet to work with TFVC, but we can work locally with Git. Well,
We need the internet
yeah,
still because of the
yeah,
virtual machines to work with financial operations.
yeah.
We don't have
So
local development yet, so
as soon as Microsoft gives us a local development tools, we can work and do everything locally, but we will need as well an online or a central repository just to back up our code and to cooperate with our partners and colleagues. TFVC is more friendly to work with X++ because, as you know, we used to put different folders inside of the repository. And working with Git, we need to put just one folder with everything inside of it. So if we have the local package local directory, I don't remember the name,
packages local directory.
package local directory, you know that we have there a lot of code, the standard code, and as well our customizations, and we just want to control in our repository the code we are creating, not the standard one. And if we want to put as well, as we will see later, our Visual Studio projects inside of our repository, we cannot use the standard folder that Visual Studio use to put the project. So it's kind of tricky to configure, and that's what we are going to see later. Continue.
Yeah. Then another difference are how branches work. I mean, they are the same concept, but as you know, when we map a branch to our virtual development virtual machine, it's very it needs some time. If you need to map a different branch, for example, you're working on the main branch and need to map the virtual machine to the release branch, for example, then you need to build all the code again, or at least you need to unmap the original branch, map the new one, get the latest version. Then if you want to use it, you need it's not like you're double clicking something and it changes the branch. And what this does is that once you've mapped a branch to your VM, you usually work only with that branch. Git allows us to change branches very easily, and that makes us easier to work in a, let's say, a branch per feature or branch per development way. So you need to correct a bug or develop a new feature, you can create a new branch, just switch to that branch and continue working without having to unmap the old branch, map the new one, and so on. That's a good thing.
The first time you do that is like, oh, magic. Everything has changed without doing nothing.
Then another thing is that TFVC is quite easy to learn, or at least it serves the purpose to X++ developers very well, because you just need to check in and then you merge, and you don't need to learn a lot of things. You can start working quite fast. And Git is a more complex system because you can break a lot of things if you don't know what you are doing. It's hard. Maybe it's hard to lose your work, but it can happen. So,
and one thing
you need to learn something about Git first.
One thing we have not put here is that TFVC is officially supported by Microsoft. So more or less, if you have some problem, you can ask them what's happening, and Git not. But this is a thing that does not make sense because it's just a BCS, and you have to be free to use the best tool for you. So, well, but as we as X++ developers used to use always the tools that are supported by Microsoft. So, and that I think that's the reason, because a lot of people and a lot of customers don't want to use Git. It's just because if you break something because you don't know how Git work, you are alone, more or less.
Yeah.
Then,
Another good thing
yeah,
it has is, well, we have code reviews on TFVC, but you do the code review after checking in the codes, right?
yeah,
And the merge concept in Git, we will see it later, is different. And you use something called pull request, and where you ask the original repository to pull your changes into it. And the pull request allows to add approvals and code checks and things like that. It's pretty cool. It's something we don't have on TFPC. And also, well, as you see, the last point, it's less rules for TFBC and more rule options on Git. It's more or less what I was saying before with the approvals and pull request. Git has more options for adding conditions. Otherwise, if you don't follow this set of rules we have added, you cannot check in the code or create a pull request. So
yeah. With
that's good.
TFVC, you have the comments, the associated work item, and a little bit more. But Git uh, in that thing is more powerful. And I think that the point that makes the difference between Git and TFVC is the branch. The branch strategy, you can do a lot more than TFVC.
Yep.
So that's why we would love to use more Git instead of TFVC.
Yeah. Okay. Then we have some resources, helpful links. We've used some of them. For example, from the Nathan Klaus's blog. Nathan has a session about Git also tomorrow, so don't miss it. Also, the Paul Heisterkamp's blog has more information about
Yeah.
Git.
Here you can see the differences in the naming. For example, in TFVC, you do a check-in to save your code. In Git, you do a commit and that kind of things. It's quite
It's
useful
useful.
if you are new in the Git world. So yeah.
And then there's this site, robscode.onl. I don't know the name of the author because I couldn't find it on the site, but he has I think it's a he. He has some interesting resources about Git and other things about Dynamics 365.
If somebody knows Rob's code, please say thank to him or her.
And finally, there's this site which is called oh shit. I think we missed an H here. It should be oh shit Git, which is a helpful resource in case you break something on your repo, and it has a lot of hints. And I have done this. How can I solve it? And probably it's there.
Then they have also a more polite version of
Yeah,
the offset Git
it
without the
was
shit thing.
Odem Git, maybe.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
Okay, and after this we can start
Yeah. Now we are going to start
the
the
better
thing.
part.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think this is
so
what people want to see.
I'm inside a Dynamics 365 Finance and Operations Development VM. This is a regular VM. You can see here Visual Studio. It's still not connected to Azure DevOps.
Mhm.
And the first thing we will do is create a new project, as we have done for regular projects, same as TFVC. And which name can we give it? I'm not very good at naming things.
Adri, by the way, I think we have 20 minutes, okay? Because Kelly
Okay.
has stolen
Oh.
us time.
Let's call it Urdu Hindi Bootcamp. I'm not very original. And as you see, here is the advanced tab. And on the version control, we usually change it to TFVC, but for once we will use Git. We create the project.
One thing I like about Git in Azure DevOps is that with Git, you can have a lot of repos inside of the same project. But with TFVC, you just can have one repo in TFVC, then you can have more Git repos. So if you are working in a really big project with customer engagement, with Power Platform, with F&O, and with .NET, you can have the same project, and inside of that project, every repo for every technology or part of the project.
Yeah, it's as you can see, the look of the project is the same as one with TFVC, except this part, which has something different, right? I mean, we don't have the files changed, and I don't remember if there was a third option. There is on,
I don't remember.
as you see here, files, commits, pushes, branches, pull request, and we will see something later. Now I will copy. No, I won't copy this. Okay, we have our project created, and now we can go back to Visual Studio. We connect the same as we do for TFVC. Connect to a project. I hope it won't ask for a lot of credentials.
As always,
I logged in earlier.
people who know how Git work does all this stuff with the command line, but we are newbies in Git, so we prefer to use the Visual Studio util to
Yeah,
work with Git. It's easier.
and it's not that it's easier. It's that maybe we are more used to it, and if we need
Yeah.
to change, it's better. And as you can see, there's a clone button here, and the path is the default repos for Visual Studio. Same place where the projects go.
Hmm.
I click clone,
That's
and
the Git clone command.
yeah, it's like the get latest, right? It's not
Mm,
exactly like
yeah,
that,
it's
but
more the mapping, more or less. But yeah, it's different.
and let me see if I can find the folder. Repos, and here it is. Okay, here we can see that it has created a .git and .bs folders, and but this is not enough for us because we need to map, as Juan
Yeah,
explained earlier, the
that's
packages
the
local
tricky part.
directory folder. So what should we do? Okay, so we are going to hack the system. Not really. Okay, so what we
Put a
do
hat
is,
and a sunglasses just
yeah,
to
no.
not be recognized.
What we do is move the files I've showed, these ones, into the packages local directory folders, using, for example, the move item command from PowerShell. Move item path, and it should be users admin source repos. I don't remember the. I'm terrible at remembering the
Bootcamp, yeah,
names. .git
Git.
and destination. It will be our service packages local directory, and with a force.
If something doesn't work, just force it.
Okay. Now we see the .git folder here. The next thing we need to do.
Doing that, we are trying to put the packages local directory as our repo folder.
This is our root folder right now, instead of the one I showed earlier. And doing this, we can add our models to the source control. Otherwise, it's impossible. This is the only bad part of Git, and it's the only setup it needs. And as you can see, it's not that bad. I said I'm going to hack the system, but there's no hacking here. Okay, then we need to open the Git bash. So maybe this doesn't come installed on the on the Dynamics PMs. So you need to download it and install it. Usually, after you select a Git folder on Visual Studio, it will ask for you. Do you want to install the Git tools? Otherwise, you can go to Git. I don't remember the website. Just Google it.
scm.com, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember them. And download the tools, install them, and you will find the bash. The Git bash is Git bash. You run it as an admin, and then you need to go to the packages local directory folder, which is my current folder, and you need to run this command, and it's done. Let's say that it's refreshing some files that are inside the .git folder to make it aware that we have moved it to another location. And another thing we need to do, back to the PowerShell shell, is grant permissions to the Git folder, because it needs to have the same permissions that all the other folders have. So I did it earlier, so I'm just repeating. And as you can see, we get the permissions from the packages local directory folder and then pipe them and set to the .git folder. And done. Okay. We should be ready to start working. So the next step would be create a new model. I will give it.
Have you changed the folder, the default folder for the VS projects?
No, I think it's not needed.
Okay.
Or
just to not have to select every time you create a. Well.
Yeah. I didn't understand what you were.
Okay. My English is so bad.
No. We just had lunch, and we are not very ready. Okay, we'll create a new model or packets, and I create a new project. No, I won't create a new project because of what Juanan said. What Juanan was suggesting is going to the options, and I don't know if I will remember where this is in project and solutions. Okay, here it is. Oh, it's already changed because
we have tried. Okay.
Yeah.
Here the default folder used to be the C user, name of the user, repo, source, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. If you change it to this
one.
You don't need to fight with the interface each time you move the project.
That is because what we have said. We need to put every object we are going to source control inside of the same folder. In our case, is inside of packages local directory folder.
Okay, so I'm creating a new project, and as you can see, it will be saved under the BS projects inside packages local directory. Okay, and I will now add a new item, a runnable class. I'm not very original, sorry. In the book. I love how fast the development VMs are. Somebody has to say it.
I think a lot of people have said already.
And while this loads, you can see here at the bottom there are something. This is different than when using TFVC. We can see where our repo is and the branch we are using. Okay, I have a class now,
Thank you, Kamar.
and if I swear I'm writing something, I think it will appear here right now. Okay, thank you, Visual Studio. And okay, now we have our code and it's ready to check in. So this is something that's different as in TFPC, because as you see here, we are see that's like a minus sign, and if we go to pending changes, oh, I'm sorry, TFBC, we see nothing here. I think I'm missing the Git screen. I don't know if I know it's the Team Explorer. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, if we go to changes, we see there's nothing except a git ignore file that we created earlier. The git ignore file is pretty important because it defines what is included each time we make changes and what is not. So what we do is the following, because our git root folder is the packages local directory folder. If we don't specify anything, all of the packages and models that are under the folder will be included.
And that's a lot.
And we don't need the application suite or any of the standard packages. So
Are you
what
sure?
we do is ignore everything. That's a star. Pop, pop, like this. We ignore everything, and then we tell to the git ignore file, don't ignore what's inside our model folder. But ignore the bin folder, the resources, the XPP metadata, etc. We just need what's inside the folder, the descriptor, which I always forgot to check in when using TFVC,